this section of the page here on MDN about which loop type you should use. So the question comes up a lot, when do I use a for loop, or when do I use a while loop, or a do while loop? Um, for the most part, like this says, they're pretty much interchangeable. We can achieve and solve the same problems um, pretty much with any three of the options here. So it comes down to personal preference. It also comes down to what you're being asked to do. Um, Sometimes it's whichever one you find easiest to remember or the most intuitive. So our first loop that we've looked at, the type is a for loop. This is, to me, the easiest one to understand and remember, just because all the criteria, all the conditions in the parentheses are all together. Um, so it's just for, and then you use your initializer, which is the I equals your starting range or value, and then your condition. So while I is greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to um, some value, and that could be a fixed number, it could be the length of text in a string, it could be the number of items in an array, but it has to have some stop. And it could just be a number. So while we start with 0, like we saw with the 99 bottles of beer, our top end, our high number to work with was 100. So as long as I was less than 99, or sorry, less than 100, 99 starting point, it would keep running. And so where all of these say final expression, that's what I call the iterator. That's where we are going to either add 1 to the I or subtract 1 to the I. So we would get I plus plus, I minus minus there. And then inside the curly brackets, that's our code that we're going to run. So we're going to run if else statements there, we're going to run concatenations, we can do console logging, console errors, warnings, pretty much anything that we need to do repeatedly as part of the looping process. So one of the areas that people get a little bit stuck sometimes with loops is they put in too much content inside the loop. So if you're building something that, let's say we look at this code here, or this markup, we wouldn't want first for repeated every time it iterated. So sometimes we have to remember static content goes before the looping, and then we run our code that does something for us automated each time it runs, and then we would add more content outside of it. So if you look at all three of these, they all have an initializer, they all have a condition of some sort, and they all have that final expression. So the main difference is, and like this says, because it's easiest to remember, everything's all in one location. For loops are really the best place to start when you're starting to learn how to write loops in JavaScript.